True Crimers, partners in crime. This is True Crime Monday until we get a better name. And we are going tonight to talk about the case of Summer Moon Utah Wells. And this is her. This is her when she went missing at age 5. And this is the age progression photo. And around 9 years old is what Summer would be now. It's already been 4 years. As always, I need to give my disclaimer that this is for entertainment purposes only. These are just my thoughts, my feelings, my opinion. These are not facts. Please form your own opinion. Again, for entertainment purposes only. Now we can get into it. There are so many similarities between the Sebastian Rogers case and the Summer Wells case. For one, they both have 4 names. So we have Summer Moon Utah Wells, Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. Very interesting. Now, the Summer Wells case was just as big as the Sebastian Rogers case. It blew up. And it was in the true crime community talked about day in and day out. And I had been following the case since day 2. Day in and day out. I would listen to absolutely anything, everything I could find on Summer. Whether I liked the person talking about it or not, I was going to listen. So Summer Wells holds a huge place in my heart, and she needs to be brought home. Kids just can't be going missing without a trace. And then after the case kind of fizzles out because there's nothing more to talk about, they get forgotten. That can't happen. So I want to do my part to get her name back out there. I have heard recently her name kind of popping back up. And I had already planned on doing some episodes about Summer. So it's kind of good timing. So again, this is an age progression photo because Summer went missing at age 5 on June 15th, 2021. She went missing from her home in Hawkins County in Rogersville, Tennessee. Now, another similarity because she was home alone with her mother. Her father was at work, I think an hour away. She vanished without a trace. Now, on the property, it was her mother, Candace Bly Wells, her father, Donald Wells, her 3 older brothers, and her grandmother, also Candace Bly, who lived on a camper on the property. They lived up on a hill and in the hollers of Tennessee, very isolated area. It's not an area that somebody could kind of sneak onto and not be noticed. They also had a huge amount of dogs that kind of were all outside. They just were kind of verily living, and they made a lot of noise. So anyway, this is another case where I believe a script was made and followed. And so I'm just going to kind of get into just the facts about Summer's case, and let's get into it. The day Summer went missing was a really busy day for her. They got up in the morning to bring the grandmother to the hospital due to a knee injury. They dropped the grandmother off. They called a family friend, 16-year-old boy, Hunter. They went over to Hunter's house and picked him up. They were going to go fishing or something, but then the grandmother needed to be picked up from the hospital. So they went and picked her up. They dropped the grandmother's prescription off at Walgreens. From there, while they waited, they went to this local watering hole at the horse stables. And Warrior's Path is the name. They let Summer swim for a little bit. There was a TikTok made, just like a quick little thing. And then from there, they went back to get the medication. And there was other stops along the way, and I don't have them in order, but they went to a couple vape stores. They there was a Twisted Tea bought, some vapes. They also went to a grocery store on the way home. They stopped at Sonic for slushies. And I think that was it for the stops. Nevertheless, they were doing a lot that day. And they dropped off Hunter on the way home, and then they headed home. And there's a picture and a little video of the way home. And Summer's asleep on 2 cold gallon milk jugs. That has been the center of a lot of speculation on this photo. Some even believing that she was unalived on the way home. I don't believe that, but that's been talked about a lot. So once they got home, That's kind of where the script really kicks in. So Grandma went to her camper. They went into the house. They were both putting away these groceries. But they also said they didn't buy a lot. So it's interesting. I have more thoughts on that, but sorry, I gotta stay focused on the script. So they went to put away groceries. Then Grandma decided she wanted to plant flowers, which later to find out they were like cactus succulent plants. And so the three boys were home alone all day and they were in the house. Summer went to help plant flowers. After they planted flowers, they went and washed their hands in the camper. The grandmother gave her a peppermint piece of candy, and then Summer wanted to go home and play with her brothers. So Candace walked her over just a few feet, told the boys to watch Summer, and went back to help her mother with a knee brace. She was only gone 1 to 2 minutes. I guess in that time, Summer had wanted to go downstairs in the basement where her room was to play with her toys. So when Candace got back, she asked the boys where's Summer. They said she went down to play with her toys. She called for Summer. Summer didn't answer. She went and looked. Summer was gone. Poof. Vanished without a trace. She looked everywhere for Summer. She called for her. Couldn't find her. So just like in the Sebastian Rogers case, instead of calling 911, she called her husband, Don Wells. And then they both called 911. A huge search started after that, and which ended up escalating into an Amber Alert, and here we are. This is another case where the father wasn't home at the time, but he did the majority of the talking to the news, to YouTubers, to panels, or whatever he could get on. Candace kind of was in the background on that, but she was the one home. The parents both said from the get-go that Summer was taken. That wasn't a theory to them. That was what happened. They said Summer was taken. They still say that to this day. And just like the Sebastian Rogers case where they said that he walked out the front door. If these parents don't know what happened, how can they possibly state for a fact that she was kidnapped or that Sebastian walked out the front door? If my child went missing and I had no idea what happened, that's exactly what I would say. I have no idea what happened, but we need to find him, you know? So that is the script, and I will forever call it the script. Where things got really interesting in this case is there is a retired detective, Chris McDonough. He has the YouTube channel, The Interview Room. He went out there and did an interview with Candace Wells at the watering hole and their home. That is where us as true crimers got to see the inside of Summer's home. And then he also did an interview with Hunter, the 16-year-old boy, at his house. His mother was there and also like a family friend. And then he also did an interview with Robin. Now, Robin is a woman from the church that they went to, that Summer was really, really close with. These videos from the interview room held just priceless information. I would say of anything in this Summer Wells case, those pieces of video where we got to get an inside look at everything were just so important to, you know, us armchair detectives, as they call us. So we are already running out of time on this one, so I am going to go over to a part 2, and we can just continue this conversation a little bit more. And so I will see you over there. Thank you so much for watching. Head over to part 2.